We're here today with Colonel Dayton, Alan Dayton, and if you wouldn't mind sharing with everyone what your position and title are.
So I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Success. This is a relatively new position. It was created by Dr. Ruckert, which is our Senior Vice President for Enrollment Management, Student Affairs, and Marketing here. And this position was created in order to, increase awareness of what the student experience here is at the Daytona Beach campus, and to try to consolidate our efforts in how we approach it. So.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to start off our questions with,
what does servant leadership mean to you?
You're probably well aware there's multiple types of leadership,
Definitely.
right? And there are people who are well suited for certain styles of leadership. And then there are people who attempt certain styles of leadership that they are not well suited. And so I preface that before I answer the question, because servant leadership is just one style. However, I think a lot of people get wrapped around the axle that if I'm going to be a good and effective leader, that's the only leadership style I can try. I disagree. Mm-hmm. On any given day, I think it's important that you're exercising multiple types of leadership depending on the team that you lead. So I'll say that over the course of my Air Force career, I used servant leadership a lot, but it wasn't the only tool I tried when I led airmen or any of the other joint forces. But I think to be a good servant leader, you have to break down the term. You got to say to yourself, what does it mean personally to serve? And then I think you need to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are as a leader. And so I don't know how long we have here, but I wanted to tell you what my thoughts are on service. So I think as you look back over your life, you will realize that your character was starting to be built as a young child. And you got a lot of influences as you were growing up, some good, some bad. They all affect our character. I had the opportunity to see a lot of good people struggle and succeed as I was growing up and watch them up close. And I think they helped me develop these traits of commitment and loyalty and courage and humility. And those are the types of traits that I've tried to embody into my leadership style. But specific to service, it's funny, I would tell the cadets before they would depart for the Air Force, I think there's only really 3 reasons why we go to work. I think we go to work to survive, to save, or to serve. It's unfortunate, but most Americans, when they take their first job, it is just survival. Making it paycheck to paycheck, trying to do the right thing for their family every day. I think there's a smaller number of Americans who put a little bit away for a rainy day. They're thinking about retirement, potentially buying a house one day. But then there's even a rarer few that they only go to work to serve. That's what motivates them, not the survival piece, not the saving piece. Sure, they're going to pay their bills, and I'm sure they're going to put a little bit away into a retirement account. But their number one focus is to serve. And I think it comes down to what were the foundations of their character, this kind of unique moral fingerprint. A few years ago, I was on a walk with my family, and my son goes, "Hey, Dad," and he was young. And he goes, "Dad, you got a motto?" I was like, "What? Do I have a motto?" And you think about it, there's mottos everywhere. Chick-fil-A downstairs, eat more chicken. Nike, just do it. Think differently for Apple. And so I was, in a moment of panic, I thought, I don't think I have anything. And then it was just almost miraculous. These 2 words floated out. I said, others first. And then I looked at him and I go, buddy, I think my motto is others first. I try to get up every day to put you, your mother, your brother and your sister, and everybody I work with first. Now, don't get me wrong, I fail a lot. We're selfish people. But that's my objective every day. And so that became my motto. And I started thinking, well, where did that come from? And so I circled back to those traits I was talking about in the beginning. of commitment and loyalty and courage and humility. I think because I grew up instilling those, or having those qualities instilled in me, when this question was thrust upon me, I was like, well, this is something I've always been trying to do.
Yeah.
Is put others first. So that's the service component. The leadership component, I think, is something that we have to practice on a daily basis. So you can have this character all worked out, but not apply it well at all. You can be a great person and a very ineffective leader. And so you got to think about, what would I want to apply daily to show folks that I know how to influence them toward a common goal. And over the years, I boiled it down to three things. I call it the 3 B's. Be the example, be humble, and then be committed. And if I can stretch out the be humble is be humble with a learning attitude, and be committed to developing others. And so be the example. That's an easy one. Yeah. Every day you get up, I think you're supposed to get up and try to look the best you possibly can, appearance-wise, physical fitness-wise. I think that you're supposed to know your craft, or know your knowledge on the job better than anybody, or at least on par with the best person on the team. You have to have the right attitude. And even when you're going through something tough, the way you exhibit that attitude to others is going to be an example for them when they have to endure something challenging. Be humble with a learning attitude. This comes down to, it's no longer about you. Yeah. You're the leader now. It is now about trying to uplift people around you. And I talk about that learning attitude. If you have a brother and sister, especially a little one, this applies really well. You know how to do subtraction and addition and multiplication, but man, there is nothing that compares to when he or she comes home from math class that day and says, hey, do you want me to show you how to add something? And you're like, sure. And they show you how to add something. They realize that you know how to do it, but you took the time to allow them to teach you. That's that be humble with a learning attitude. And then lastly, be committed to developing others. I think that every day we're supposed to come to work or come to our team and try to make them into better versions of themselves. This takes us taking a step back from being focused on ourselves and only trying to push them forward in situations where they can get recognition or where they can learn something on a deeper level. So I say all that to say this: if you can get service down pat with your the foundations of your character, and you can combine it with good and effective leadership habits, you can have servant leadership.
I appreciate
that. Was a long answer. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I appreciate it. I like being able to understand where the thought process comes from.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you explaining it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how you noted the 3 different ways that people go to a job.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I grew up with always hearing was job is just an abbreviation. It's just over broke.
Yeah, that's great.
So my parents always told me growing up, like, you don't want a job, you want a career, you want a life, you want to build something for yourself, for your future family, and you want it to be something that you care about and you're passionate about, or else it is just going to be a job.
I agree. Yeah, and I like your parents' term career, and what we use in the military is profession. Mm-hmm. But it's something bigger than something you clock in and clock out of. Yeah. In fact, if you really take it seriously, your career or your profession, you don't even worry about the hours that you're doing it. It's a part of your life. Yep. It's a part of your identity. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Well, you kind of explained how you try to live servant leadership out in general, but
how do you try to live out servant leadership in your role on campus?
Being a servant leader? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it starts back from, so I've been here now going on 4.5 years, but the first 3 years were with ROTC. And I think it kind of goes back to when I started here on campus in that role. I came from an active duty unit with an incredibly high operations tempo. It was go, go, go. And I thought that it would be a little bit relaxing to come to this college atmosphere and to be around cadets. And that was the wrong approach, and I learned it in the first week, is that if you're going to do this job right, you need to invest all of your time into as many cadets as you possibly can. And so I started thinking about the knowledge that I had. Sometimes it's very career specific. You know, I flew for a living, so there's some specific things that I want to convey to those that want to go off and fly for a living. Mm-hmm. But then there's a lot of different cadets who want to do very different things in the Air Force. And so there were times where I needed to learn what was the best track for an intelligence officer, what was the best track for an acquisitions officer, you know, all the different paths that our cadets could take. I took it upon myself to learn, at least in the beginning of their career, what would set them up for success, and then have those moments with them where I'm teaching them about that. Now, I go back to that be humble with a learning attitude. I love how cadets will go off on their own, and it applies to students now that I'm on this side of the campus, that they'll go and do research about what they're going to do in their career, and then they'll come tell me, hey, did you know that if I'm in aerospace engineering working for Boeing, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z? Now, sometimes I know exactly what they're saying. Mm-hmm. I've already lived that life, or I know people who have lived that life, but no matter, I never step in and say, no, you're actually getting that wrong. I love the fact that they're telling me what they're doing, because I think that's reinforcing their own learning. And it goes back to, it's no longer about me. It has nothing to do with me. It's all about that student, or it's all about that cadet. And so that's how I've tried to apply servant leadership here. I've enjoyed this side of the campus, because now, instead of just setting folks up for success in the military, I'm getting to help people set up for success in all facets of their life. I mean, we have students that have relationship issues. We have students that have economical issues. And it maybe has nothing to do with what they're doing in the classroom. But if I can have a good conversation with them and help them become a better version of themselves in that facet of their life, then they're just going to be more successful once they graduate. So I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
There is no specific answer that we're looking for.
Okay.
It is entirely open to interpretation.
Good.
And that's why we want to interview our different nominees to see how and why they think the way that they do.
Good.
And approach the way that they approach.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing, because that is amazing. The fact that you came here to make an impact, and you said, I'm making an impact here, but I want to make a bigger impact, and you moved over to our side.
Right. Yeah, and you know, when I was interviewing for this position, I thought, gosh, most of the stuff, other than being in uniform, most of the stuff that I did over there applies to students. It's just we were doing it to a very narrow pathway with the Air Force. But the tips to make somebody successful are universal. And man, what I've been most impressed with, and I know this has nothing to do with the interview, is just the caliber of students on this campus. I mean, and you two are just a part of them. I mean, you probably don't realize how rare you are. The folks that come here with a focus from the time they're out of high school. So this is what I want to do. Now, I get it. It may change a little bit over time, where you're like, I want to go into this type of propulsion, or whatever the case may be. But the fact that you are already that laser focused into what that career, what that profession is going to look like, that you're not thinking about a job, you're thinking about what will I contribute to society writ large when I graduate this institution. You're a part of the rare few, and the fact that I get to be a part of that with you all to help shape is pretty monumental. We use this phrase across the street: iron sharpens iron. It's a phrase from the Bible, and it can apply more than to a university like here, whether it's the faculty, whether it's the staff, whether it's the senior level students with the freshman level students. I mean, we're always sharpening one another with our skill sets, so that when you graduate, you are honed for whatever you're going to take on. So
I love that saying.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I'm pretty sure Reverend has said it at least once.
I think so.
I bet he does. Yeah.
He is one to quote.
Yeah, I bet.
Anything and everything.
And he's got a great memory.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I don't know how he has such a good memory.
He's fantastic.
He's had so many experiences over his life and has helped so many individuals, faculty, staff, and students alike. I don't know how he can remember all the faces and names that he can.
I know.
And I've been here for quite some time, and so I am part of the alumni group chat along with the current fellows group chat.
Yeah.
So I can see every single time that he remembers someone's birthday or an anniversary or congratulations on the engagement, things like that, that he is on top of, and I don't know how he does it.
Right.
I have no idea because I've seen his schedule.
Right.
It's scattered.
Right.
But he's got it all down pat.
That's good. So that's our goal, is to try to be like that with one another. I think that personal connection is what motivates people to, man, can you imagine working for somebody like that? That they know your life at that level, to where, you know, how your husband's doing or how your wife's doing or how your kids are doing, how you're doing personally with the goals that you've set. That's a component, I think, of the coaching leadership model, the transformational leadership model, and then the servant leadership model that makes a team go from good to amazing or excellent. So
I would agree. And then I guess one other thing, because we kind of just tied in two of the other questions about servant leadership on campus and servant leadership in action.
Why do you think servant leadership is important in our community?
Our community, as in the students, or are you talking about Daytona? I mean,
however you would like to interpret it, because it can be limited to our students here on campus. It can be a little bit more broad towards Daytona. It can be more broad towards Florida, the world, however you would like to answer that.
Well, I think everybody would agree we're in a very complex time. And gosh, man, if you were to go back 2-3 generations, I bet they would say the exact same thing. I know they would. And so it's just our time, and it's the challenges we have to face, right? But they seem pretty complex, right? And so in terms of serving others, I'll just say that rather than servant leadership, we need to spend more time seeking to understand where folks are coming from. We need to spend more time investing in building people rather than destroying or tearing people. I feel like as wonderful as our freedoms are, they are. I've traveled the world. I have seen some really unfortunate places and environments. America is an amazing concept, but sometimes our freedoms can incorrectly prioritize us or create us to go down a path of division. I think in order to truly serve one another today, we need to spend more time listening than speaking, and like I said already, seeking to understand where folks are coming from, what the strengths of their background, what the strengths of their opinions, what the strengths of their upbringings, what the strengths of their character traits if they're different than yours. What are all those things, and what can they bring to not only maybe the team that you're on, but maybe the school or the community that you're a part of. We don't do that enough. I think about teams that I've led in the past, and we've done some incredibly complex missions over the years. I flew reconnaissance my whole career, and so a lot of our missions were against countries that maybe weren't on the radar screen of everybody in the typical American home. They didn't realize that that nation or that particular geographic location in the world was something that the United States needed to keep on their radar or understand the intelligence behind. And so we would be involved in a lot of these missions, and they were incredibly complex, and it demanded a lot from the teams that were taking them on. It would have been easy to tell everybody in each of those missions to, this is the order, suck it up, we're going to accomplish it. I think it took a little bit more for us to get to know one another, to understand what each person brought to the team, so that when we did find or face crises, we were able to better manage them because of the people that, or the relationships that we had built with one another. We had very diverse people. And I think about applying those diverse people all wearing the same colors in the Air Force, all wearing that same flag. We were united under one mission, and if we could apply that concept of seeking to understand one another, listening more than talking, building people up more than tearing people down, across a broader landscape, I think the complexity that we're facing right now would diminish quite a bit. And so I would just behoove people to try to put others, the needs of others, ahead of their own, even when you think that the needs of others, what's the best way to say this? There are going to be days that you think you're right, and others are wrong. But if you can take the time to understand where they're coming from, take the time to understand what strengths they may bring to this discussion, you may find that you weren't as right as you thought you were in the beginning. And in the end, you'll learn something from it. So that was a convoluted way of getting to your answer there. But it really has those three components to it: listening more than talking, seeking to understand, and building folks up more than tearing them down. So, does that help?
I think it does, because that was powerful. I don't know about you, but I actually did get goosebumps when you were talking about how you had all these different people coming together, united under one mission, under one flag, under one color, all working towards the same goal.
Yeah.
And being able to get there through listening to each other, working together, building each other up, being okay with not being right, because it's not always about being right. It's about what's best.
Yeah.
What's best for the majority. I appreciate everything that you've said today. It's been a great interview. I've learned a lot.
Okay, good.